The 18 Strong Podcast with Jeff Pellizzaro, episode number 9.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzaro.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for being here. As always, this podcast would not exist without you guys listening and giving me the feedback that you do. So thank you first and foremost. This week's episode is featuring a guy by the name of Clint Howard, who I've actually had the opportunity to know for a little while now. I initially met Clint back in Atlanta. I believe it was either 2012 or 2013 when we both went for the fitness level 2 for Titleist Performance Institute for the fitness professionals. And so got to know him real briefly there. And then just by chance, turns out that he works with a relative of mine in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as anybody that knows Clint or has heard of Clint, you know that he's kind of the go-to guy for fitness, golf fitness, fat loss, whatever it is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He and his wife, Kara, own Tulsa Fitness Systems, which is a huge complex. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to actually visit the complex yet, but will definitely do so in the future. I got to hang out a little bit with Clint this past 4th of July, and I got to play a little golf in Tulsa at Southern Hills Country Club, which was an amazing experience. Compliments of my cousin and her husband, but then got to hang out with Clint a little bit at a party that they had, which was incredible, and got to know him a little bit better. And very soon, actually next week, get to hang out a little bit more with him at the World Golf Fitness Summit, which is going to be pretty cool to catch up with Clint and a bunch of the other guys and people that I've met. But to get down to it, this week's episode is fantastic. Clint has a ton of information to share with you guys, including some tips for fat loss and the systems that they use at Tulsa Fitness Systems, which again just produces fantastic results working on fat loss. A lot of group training, group classes, and things like that. But Clint also goes into defining, how training for golf is definitely different than just training for fat loss or training for strength and those type of things. And Clint shares a pretty cool story about actually an issue that he had with the very first golf fitness client that he had. And pretty much the guy told him that he didn't want to work with him anymore because his golf game was getting worse. So I'll let Clint tell that story. And then also he shares a bunch of tips that he has. He works with a bunch of businessmen, business owners, professionals, guys and girls that have crazy schedules, traveling a lot, different, social opportunities to go to. And so I know a lot of you listening have schedules that are similar to that. And it's not always conducive to then training on a regular basis, getting into the gym 3, 4, or 5 times a week the way that you would want to. So you got to kind of find ways to fit it into your nooks and crannies of, staying at hotels and traveling and being home for a week and being gone. So Clint shares some tips for that stuff. So looking forward to you guys hearing the episode and learn a little bit from him. Lastly, before we get into it, again, just want to thank everybody for all the reviews that we've gotten on iTunes. I know that I keep pushing this, and we've got our goal of reaching 100 reviews by December, which is not that far away. We have crossed the 20 reviews barrier, which is a little bit shy from where we want to be, but we're going to keep on pushing on. And just to read one or two of the reviews that we've gotten here is one by the name is Professor Haji. He says, "Grip it and rip it. I'm so glad I found this podcast. What a gift to an average golfer like myself looking for professional advice in a relaxed environment. My goal was to get some tips on strength training and weight loss, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much the conversations helped improve my overall outlook and how I approach the game. I'm hooked." So Professor Haji, thank you for that one. And everybody else that's left a review for the podcast, thank you very much. It's not just to feed my ego and make me happy as the host of the podcast, but it really does help to improve the ability for this to be shared with others. The whole search engine thing through Apple, through iTunes, the more ratings, the more reviews that the podcast does get, the higher it's boosted into the search engines and the easier it's found, basically. So if you could help, I'd appreciate everything you could give us as far as ratings and reviews. And eventually I will find a way to kind of reward everybody or some of the people that have left reviews, whether that be some sort of a raffle giving away T-shirts or, something, ebooks, whatever we can do, whatever we come up with in the future. I promise to you guys that we'll get something out to you and say thank you for all the positive feedback you've given. So without further ado, I've been rambling on a little too much here. Let's get into the interview with Clint Howard. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to the 18 Strong podcast, where once again we have a great guest for you guys today, Mr. Clint Howard from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Clint's the founder and director of Tulsa Fitness Systems and is pretty much known as the go-to fitness expert in Tulsa, especially when it comes to fat loss. He and his wife, Kara, own Tulsa Fitness Systems. And also Clint has a separate entity known as Tulsa Golf Fitness, where he works specifically with golfers looking to improve their game, as well as maybe get in better shape, work on their fat loss goals, that type of stuff. So Clint, thanks for showing up today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Glad to be here.
So Clint, really, the whole idea behind the show is we want to get to know you. We want to get to know, what Clint does, how you get the success that you're getting with the folks that you are in Tulsa. I mean, I know that we have a personal connection. My cousin is a good client of yours in Tulsa. We had the chance to meet just about a month or so ago. And so I know the success that you have with your clients there. Tons of people looking for weight loss, plenty of golfers that you're working with, and you guys are doing the right stuff down there. So give us a little bit of background before you get into Tulsa Fitness Systems itself. Give us a little history about you, your wife, how this whole system came about, and just the background on you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I'd love to. So my background, I went to school at OU in Norman, and so my degree is exercise science, and also have a master's degree in exercise physiology. And like most people, I started out training at a big box, health club there in Norman while I was actually going through graduate school there for about 3 or 4 years. And so I love training. I got certifications, several different personal training certifications. So I knew I wanted to help people. I loved fitness. I was into working out. I grew up as an athlete, pretty high-level athlete, baseball player actually. And but I knew I didn't want to be in a health club, in a box gym. And I love to work. I mean, I worked all the time. I actually worked about 60, 70 hours a week through graduate school. And so a lot of the business owners and kind of some of my clients there that I was training, they're like, man, you love to work, you have a passion, you should own your own business. And they were telling me this, and they're like, you need to do your own thing. And I can just tell you're driven, and telling me these things. And so I was like, yeah. I would love to do that. So I met my wife now. I met her when I was in graduate school, and so we graduated. I actually opened up a training studio in Norman, personal training studio, a smaller one-on-one studio. So I've kind of evolved, went from the health club to owning my own small, kind of more boutique-style, high-end one-on-one personal training, and then I got into training golfers during that time, and then moved to Tulsa. My wife is from Tulsa. She's from the Jinx, kind of South Tulsa area. So we moved here after we got married after graduate school and moved to Tulsa. My wife's a pharmacist, but she also has a degree in exercise science herself. And so we both still train a lot today in our business. We own the business, but we actually do train. I train a whole lot, counting all my golfers. My wife trains a little. But we've been here in Tulsa for about 8 years, and so now I own a bigger facility. As you had mentioned, it's Tulsa Fitness System. So we kind of evolved from the smaller one-on-one to now we'll get into later, I'm sure, we do personal training, one-on-one, small group, train golf teams, and then we train a large group we call team training. So we've evolved a lot just, from whatever, about the 15 years I've been doing this to what we've got now. I think we've really, got a lot of good things going now. So.
And did you grow up playing golf yourself, or what got you into the golf fitness game?
What, I didn't actually. So it's a funny story. I grew up, played all sports, basketball, baseball was my main sport. I did track and field, but I went to college to play baseball. Actually, I was a pitcher, and so but I didn't grow up playing golf at all. It's kind of funny. I'll make the story short here, but I actually, my father-in-law was the Titleist. Titleist. He was the golf rep here for about 30 years. He just retired a few years ago, so he knew all the golf pros. I mean, he was the main guy in Oklahoma, the rep there for Titleist. So he actually, when he married his daughter, and he knew I was training. That's when I was in Norman. And that's when TPI had actually just, I think, been created. And so I've been certified through TPI, Talos Performance Institute, since that's probably 2005, maybe 2004. And he hooked me up with a golf pro there in Norman who owned the main country club there, was part owner and the head golf pro, and played, was a very high level golfer. And this is a real funny story. It's very similar to Greg Rose, founder of TPI. I started working with this guy. So this is going to be my connection. I'm going to get great results with him. He's going to send me all of his clients there, his members there at the country club. And I was just training. This is before I got certified through TPI, through golf training. And anyway, I started training him. I trained his wife. I trained his daughter there at our facility. And we were doing some trade out. He was actually giving me a free membership to the country club, the highest end country club there in town. We were doing a social. He was giving me golf lessons and introduced me to all these clients, his members there. And I trained him for a few weeks, maybe a month, and he just quit coming in. And I was training him personally myself. And he just kind of didn't schedule any sessions there for a week or two. So I called him up. And his name is Jim, and I said, Jim, hey, you hadn't been working out the last week or two. Let's get you in here. And he said, well, let me tell you something. I said, I'm not coming back in. He said, I want you to keep training my wife. His wife is just trying to lose weight, and his daughter. He said, they love it. You're doing a great job. But he said, I'm finished with the training there. And this was, again, a guy that I had been introduced by my father-in-law, one of my father-in-law's best friends. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, let me tell you. He said, just so you know, he said, I do play high-level golf. He plays tournaments and he plays with his members and stuff. He said, that's part of what I do here. He said, ever since I've been training with you, my golf game has gone to crap. He said, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm stiff, I'm not recovering, and I'm not playing as well. And so I was like, okay, that was like a very uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
So I was like, okay. I said, well, you should have told me this before, and we'd go back and look and see what's going on, And this guy's probably in his 50s, hasn't worked out in years, sits at a desk. And, I was doing some good things with it, but obviously what I know now and what I know then was like night and day as far as what I should have been doing. I had not screened him. So he's like, yeah, he said, I know you know what you're doing, but he said just for golf. And he's kind of an old school guy, that wasn't really into golf fitness. I mean, he's one of those guys I was going to have to convince that it was going to help him. He wasn't all really on board. It's just kind of my father-in-law really kind of talked him into it. So it's going to take, me really doing something great with him anyway to kind of turn his mind on what he grew up as, just golfers didn't really work out. So anyway, he's like, I'm really not gonna do it. I don't think it's for me. And so luckily, because I was like, okay, that's not good. I just not gonna do good with that connection. Anyway, a few months later, we ended up moving to Tulsa. That's where my wife is from. So we left Norman. I ended up selling that studio to my manager when I moved here and opened up another facility. And so it ended up being fine. But basically, then I realized, I need to, if I'm going to train golfers, that was really my first really true golf client that was a high-level golfer. I was like, I need to know what I'm doing. I just can't say I'm trained golfers. And that's when I found, the new TPI and went and got certified. And, of course, now I've got multiple certifications through TPI and work with hundreds of golfers now. Again, that was 10 years ago. But that's really what made me realize if I'm going to do something, you need to be the best and know what the heck you're doing. And so, again, since then, I've evolved and we do a lot of things. But that's kind of a quick story there. Is kind of how I got into with TPI and getting certified and knowing, because I get people that I see trainers around and they're like, oh yeah, I can train this athlete and they just come in, golf, that's core, right? That's abs, and we'll do a lot of med ball, but there's like way more. Obviously, you and I know there's way more to it than that. So anyway, so that's kind of the quick background there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I want to get into a little bit later is the differentiation of training specific athletes, specifically for this show, training a golfer versus somebody that wants to come in for weight loss or somebody that wants to come in to do a fitness competition or something like that, that there are specific differences and hopefully you'll be able to elaborate a lot more on the differentiations that you guys do down there because, as I mentioned earlier, you guys are kind of considered the fat loss experts down there in Tulsa, but also the golf performance studio for some of the higher level golfers that play there as well. And I know for a fact that your training regimens are going to look a lot different for one than they do for the other. And I do want to get into that in a little bit. So as we get into the idea of fat loss, because almost everybody out there wants to lose fat as part of their workout routine, and that's a fantastic goal. Give us a little idea on your mentality on how you go about with a fat loss regimen or with your clients. What are some of the most important things that people need to focus on when they go into a program like that?
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely one of our kind of specialties, or what we're known for, is our fat loss, because that's really what, when I was in college and when I started getting into the exercise physiology and a term called EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which, now it's gotten people know now HIIT training, high-intensity training, and metabolic training are beginning to be more kind of buzzwords in the fitness industry. A few years ago, people that weren't trainers probably had not heard of metabolic training or high-intense interval training. So people are starting to, hear that more, and it's becoming more commonplace in fitness, magazines and things. But that is kind of our specialty. What we've done for several years is what we call metabolic resistance training, which is really maximizing, calorie burn during the workouts, but also calorie burn after the workout. So after you finish your training session, your body is still elevated, your metabolism. There's lots of studies on that now, and it takes a few years for studies to come out and the science to actually come out. But how intensity and interval training is better for fat loss than just like steady state cardio. And so that's what I've written a lot about and talked a lot about the last few years. And like I said, now people are starting to catch on to it more, just kind of across the country. But we do, our main fat loss program, we call it team training, but it is metabolic training. So really it's where we combine strength training, but it's got a cardio component. So it's interval-based, and so we do multiple stations, total body workouts, but we don't really take breaks. They're small, we call it incomplete recovery, where people are rotating through different stations, different movement patterns, but your heart rate, stays elevated. And so the intervals, and we get into a lot more deeper as far as changing the intervals and do longer, shorter, sort of hitting different energy systems. But the main thing is, it's total body. It's not, bodybuilding like a lot of people, are used to, is going to the gym and doing, 3 sets of bench press and then doing 3 sets of lat pull downs and things like that. So it's, it's more total body compound movements. So you're utilizing more expenditure, more calories, and then you're going at a higher intensity. A lot of people, I still know, go to gyms and work out, and their heart rate, barely even gets elevated. They do 1 set, and then they take long breaks. And if you're trying to train for pure strength, some of those things are maybe okay. But from a fat loss standpoint, you have to obviously go higher intensity, but also be safe. There's also programs out there now that are high intensity, but they're not safe, and the form and technique breaks down. And so we don't do a lot of advanced movements, Olympic lifting, or really highly technical exercises in our metabolic sessions. That's something we would do more in a personal training session, so we can actually scale it down and teach movement patterns better. But the whole concept is, we go, interval based, and so the heart rate stays elevated, and then they burn calories after the fact too, after they're working out. And then obviously nutrition. I know we're talking mostly the training side here, but for fat loss, people have to understand nutrition is hugely important as well.
Well, actually, I would love to dive into that a little bit, because you and I both know that, you can exercise day in and day out, but if your nutrition doesn't change, you're not likely going to see long-term results and long-term effects. So from a diet standpoint, what are some of the biggest things that you guys kind of approach with your clients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, we tell people, you have to, you can get fit, obviously, by exercising and get stronger and more cardiovascular benefits. But from a true weight loss perspective, it has to be, you have to burn off more calories than you take in. So nutrition is huge. So we try to really keep it simple. A few years, and I've made a ton of mistakes over the years, and I learned from that. I used to try to get elaborate and teach people how to do carb cycling and stuff that even like fitness models or people would do, as far as getting just really detailed. And found that most people, they just need basic. They don't a lot of people don't really even know the basics, or just they get confused. There's so many books out there and so many articles and so many different things that contradict as far as nutrition. People just don't even know which way to go. And so, we keep it simple. We tell people, cut out processed foods as much as possible. Try not to get a lot of your calories from liquids. You're drinking primarily water. If you're drinking pops, get rid of pops, minimize alcohol. Some basic things that people probably know, and then from there we try to teach people how to always eat breakfast, eat small meals, try not to skip meals. Always pair up a protein with a carb. So we do teach a little bit about blood sugar stabilization, so people understand if they eat just simple carbs, or their blood sugar is going to spike and then it's going to crash, and how that slows down fat loss. And so we do teach a little bit more about stabilizing blood sugar and how that also helps with satiety, with fullness. So you're eating complex carbs and getting protein. And then from there, we get more in detail, but we like clients to do a food journal for a couple of days, and then we can look at it and give feedback. But ideally, we try to get people to eat throughout the day, always eat breakfast, drink lots of water, plenty of, clean protein, and then, try to minimize processed foods. And if they can do all of that, they're probably going to be fine. If we can get people to eat healthy, even just 80% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, and then allow people to cheat a little, then we'll take that, if they're working out. So.
Yeah, I think the cheat meals and, the 80-90% rule of being perfect for that 80 or 90% is extremely important, because you got to live your life a little bit too. And we had your buddy Jason Glass on the show in one of the earlier episodes, and we kind of spoke to this about, if you're not enjoying life a little bit, you're going to hate yourself when you do make a mistake, and then you're really kind of sabotaging your diet and your expectations and your goals and things like that. But I also find that it's very important that your clients, or the people listening, understand what 80% really is. And if you're eating, say 5 meals a day, which is kind of what we like to prescribe at our place, Elevated Performance, 5 small meals a day, all with good protein, vegetables, some decent fats. But if you're doing that 7 days a week, that's 35 meals in total. That means if you're perfect 90% of the time, you can cheat, maybe 3 meals out of an entire week. And that means every other meal is pretty much perfect. Do you find that, sometimes when you're working with clients, they don't necessarily understand what their 80% is or 90%? Or I find that, some of our clients have a difficult time being realistic with what they're really eating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's a good point. No, for sure. I mean, like you said, if people are eating, 5-6 times a day, which we recommend that for most people as well, it's maybe more challenging than they think. But, that's what I try to tell people is like, look, you're going to have a date night, you're going to have a party, you're going to have a function, you're going to go out of town. When those things are coming up, those in your schedule, make that, your reward, your cheat meal, those events. Don't just go and grab McDonald's for lunch just out of randomness because you're not prepared for a lunch, or just eat hamburgers and fries because you bought it for your kids, or just because you're not prepared. And that just can be a daily, a lot of people just eat junk, every day. They're just not really planning it out. And so that's what we really, we had good success, is just, hey, if you're going to eat throughout the week, your schedule's pretty set, unless you travel a lot, and sometimes that can be a little more challenging. But plan your meals, cook dinner, have leftovers. We give them some ideas and some guidelines and some, sample meal plans. And then, don't blow the whole weekend. A lot of people eat really good through the week, and the whole weekend they just blow it. You can eat 2 days of bad food. That can sabotage everything you did, that week in the gym and all your eating you did all week. So, go out that night, have a glass of wine, have a couple of beers, a hamburger, whatever. But that was, like you said, that was 1 meal or 2 meals, and maybe you did that once during the week. But, it gives people something to look forward to, because, like you said, life's too short. If you're totally miserable, it may not be worth it. Just, even if you look a little bit healthier, but you're just unhappy and miserable, you can't do that. So you have to, obviously there's going to be some sacrifices, and you're going to have to change things somewhat. But if you can just make those kind of what I call them rewards, is something like a special occasion or something to look forward to, and then know you're going to just, do really good up until that point. It gives you kind of like a vacation. You work really hard all year long or forever how many months, and you look forward to a vacation. You can go relax and chill out and not take work with you. Same thing in your food plan, and we really, do talk a lot about that.
You mentioned travel and business and things like that. When you and I were in Tulsa, we had a great conversation just about our host, which is my cousin's husband, Charlie, who is runs a very successful business, and he's a client of yours, and he's in town and out of town a lot, which a lot of the listeners for this program, I'm sure, run businesses, have very busy work lives. So what tips can you give somebody like a Charlie or somebody that owns their own business? They're traveling a ton. They've got a lot of different work functions, work meetings, which, we know always have a lot of catered foods and different things, a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinks. What are some, 2 or 3 tips that you could give them to really make a change in how they approach that week or that month that they know they're going to be super busy?
Yeah, that does make it tougher for sure, no doubt. I mean, like I said, we do have Charlie. We have some clients that travel, and first thing, you just got to go back to what your goals are and realize, hey, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to have to make some sacrifices when I'm in town and when I'm out of town. So definitely, when they're in town here, we make sure their butt is in here working out consistently, and maybe even coming extra. Coming every day if they're in town for 3 or 4 or 5 days, because they know they're not going to get the same thing when they're on the road. So staying committed and being on track when they're in town, obviously, and eating, kind of talked about earlier, eating, clean and really good when you're here. When you're out of town, like you said, a lot of them do have business functions and socials and events. So, you're going to have a few drinks or have something there. Again, kind of going back to making that your reward, some water, some of your cheat meals. But we still try to preach, to exercise on the road. And is it going to be the same as when you're in town with your trainer, with your, at your facility? Probably not. But if you can do it first thing in the morning, there's obviously when you're out of town and have meetings, the evenings are probably not going to be a time to work out, because usually people are going to dinners and things like that. So we really try to get them to wake up. Even if it's a 20-minute workout, people don't understand sometimes. They're like, if I can't get an hour workout, is it even worth it? And there's so much research now, science or studies that show even doing a 10 or 20-minute workout still is beneficial from a heart health standpoint, even just getting your metabolism elevated, and just just overall health benefits, and just get you in that mindset. So we really try to get clients to wake up and do something that first thing in the morning in the hotel gym or even in their hotel room. And we have some travel workouts that we give clients, but even just doing body weight or doing some cardio, some stretching, and then do what they got to do that day. But trying to at least keep in the mindset of, hey, I'm still working on my health when I'm out of town, and then just staying committed when you're in town, and then trying to moderation. Obviously, if you are out at a dinner and drinking or eating, I mean, just don't gorge yourself, obviously, either the food or the drinks, and just, have a few, but hopefully you're not getting too, too trashed, or then you're going to probably, it's not worth it the next day if you're out there on business meetings. And so we definitely preach the moderation aspect when it comes to the eating and drinking on the road, and then just staying somewhat committed to your health and fitness. And people seem to do a pretty good job of that, keeping it balanced and then hitting it hard when they're in town. So,
well, I think a good tactic that very few people use, and very often, I have to remind myself of this when I'm, going out to a function like that beforehand, just kind of mentally take note, like, okay, tonight, yes, there's going to be, all kinds of food and maybe drinks and stuff like that. But if you just kind of recalculate your goals ahead of time and think, okay, is it going to be worth it to ruin all the work that I just did all week long? All the time I put in the gym with Clint and all the calories that I burned. Is it really going to be worth it to have that extra, Bud Light or extra 5 Bud Lights? And if you just kind of mentally go in that when you're prepared and say, okay, I'm just going to watch myself. I'm going to maintain control, which I think a lot of times going into a situation like that, it's like, well, this is my cheat. I'm just going to let it go for the night, and then it's done, as opposed to saying, okay, on my meal, maybe I will have the dessert, or maybe I will have a couple drinks, but not going crazy with it. And just that can really reduce the amount of calories that you take in, but also how you feel in the morning, allow you to get up and work out. And, it's all a cycle. And if you maintain that thought of, okay, is it worth it? Is this decision worth, ruining, or is the benefit going to outweigh the risk of this decision? I think that plays a big part in whether you're going to be successful or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree. I have this saying. I say it all the time to clients. It's kind of one of our sayings around our facility is that you can't out-exercise or you can't out-train a bad diet. And I think a lot of people have heard that before, and it's so true. I mean, those calories add up so fast. People usually always underestimate how many calories they actually take in. We know it takes 3,500 calories to equal a pound of fat, and that can add up really quick. So, like I said, it's not worth it. Just think back what your goals are, stay committed to those, and how bad you want it, and just keep it in moderation. I agree, 100%.
All right, I want to switch gears just a little bit here and dive in a little bit more to the golf side of things.
Yep.
And in contrast, what you talked about a little bit earlier is the difference between, training one client, like you had Jim from the country club, who's a high-level golfer, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, dude, this isn't working for me. This isn't helping my golf game, and that's why I came to you, or that's why I thought I was coming to you. So how would you take a client, like you work with Bo Van Pelt on the PGA Tour, and how do you, when somebody like that comes in, what do you do differently than when you're working with somebody who strictly comes in for group training or fat loss or something like that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing we do a screen, like a different screen. So we do, for all our clients, we do just a general functional movement screen, just to look for any basic dysfunction, any kind of, muscle imbalances for all of our clients, just basic movement patterns. For our golfers, we definitely use the TPI, Talus Performance Institute screen, and I do some power testing. So I have to see first what limitations they have, what mobility issues or balance or core, or just what if their power testing is low. So certainly, I talk to them first and say, hey, what are you trying to work on? What are your golf specific goals? And then you and I probably both see most clients want to hit the ball farther, and I work with actually several world long drive competitors, and so but everyone wants to hit the ball farther. That's usually a given, but then they're trying to work on something else in their swing, so I find out what swing faults they have or what they're trying to work on, or if they have a golf pro here in town. Fortunately, I know most all the golf pros in town and work with a lot of them, so I may contact their golf pro, after I meet with them and talk to them and see what they're working on with them. So I have a questionnaire they fill out that gets more into their body and their swing and what's going on with their golf game, and plus how serious you are. Like you said, I mean, I work with tour players and high-level college golfers and high school golfers and long drivers that are, that's their life, I mean, they want to or be at the highest level. And we have some just local weekend golfers that are just trying to get better and maybe trying to play without having back pain or just keep playing the game, so they're not going to be as focused or maybe as serious about it. So we kind of look and see where they're at, what level they're at, what level they're trying to get to or be at. And then some of them have other goals as well. Like we talked about fat loss. Some clients just want to come in and get fit and healthy. By the way, I also play some golf. So we obviously determine that, but then we always screen them and see where they're at as far as movement patterns, power, strength, and then build out the program based off of that. So we have a few different training programs here. If some of our higher profile top clients or higher level golfers will do one-on-one, personal training, and then some will do some of our group, more of our large group team training. But so basically we always screen them, and then we design the program. If they have any limitations, we remove those, any issues with mobility, flexibility, and then customize the program more so for a golfer than we would just a general fat loss client.
I think one of the biggest things that I take out of that and that we try to I try to preach here on the show is first the assessment. No matter what trainer you're going to, wherever you're going, there always needs to be some sort of assessment. It's the whole thing of you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. And
exactly.
So you got to kind of figure out, okay, what are my limitations? And I, especially with the golfers, flexibility can be such an issue, or, having too much or too little, and knowing how the body needs to move in certain parts. And if this area is not working, is that causing compensations in other areas? So for all of you out there listening, first thing I would recommend you doing, and I believe Clint just kind of said the same thing, is go out and get yourself assessed by a professional so you can understand what are the things that you should be working on. Even if you're not planning on, going on tour, it's just like getting your clubs fit. You're going to benefit just as much by having somebody tell you, these are the things you need to work on. These are the improvements you can make. And even if you're not going to be in the gym 5 days a week, they're small little things that you can do to get yourself better. And then having a plan, having somebody like Clint develop a plan for you, whether you're working with him in the gym one-on-one or you're going to be doing it on your own, but knowing what you need to do on a day in and day out basis or weekly basis makes a big, big difference as far as achieving your goals. So I appreciate the fact that you're right on target with our philosophy here in assessing, planning, and then, moving forward.
Yep.
What would you say is, going back a little bit to the fat loss part, because I kind of wanted to touch base on this earlier and didn't get a chance to ask you, but I get some people that tell me, golfers don't really need to work out. You got guys on tour that are overweight, that are winning tournaments, things like that. Why would you say, or can you explain to somebody out there why fat loss can be very important for the golfer and why trimming down can really benefit their game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's no question. I mean, working out, there's some carryover. Even our clients come in just for golf fitness. I mean, they're still getting stronger and we're still burning some calories. They're going to lose some weight, and again, you tie nutrition in. But for one thing, we know that low back pain obviously is very common in golfers. I mean, you're putting torque on your low back. Obviously, you're bent over. So if you have extra weight on your stomach, obviously that's putting more stress on your joints, and certainly, all your joints, but definitely your low back. So we see that, a lot with golfers that are overweight start having just pain. There's their breakdown in their body and just the stress they're putting on it. I've even had some clients that are more overweight that obviously it affects their swing. They're actually having to change their swing pattern to rotate around, that they have a belly or whatever, so it depends on how overweight they are. But, so there's aspects of that comes to, avoiding pain and having to change your swing. But beyond that, certainly just being more physically fit. There's no question. Just from a stamina standpoint, you're going to be, you're going to be more successful. And it's kind of one of those arguments. I think that you probably hear some old school people will say, "Well, is fitness really that important for golf? How is it?" Well, yeah, definitely. You look on tour now. Most everyone is working out. College guys, they're coming out. They're fit. They're just phenomenal players. They're working out. So, a lot of the fat loss stuff we do is there's some power training, there's some speed training, that's getting your heart rate elevated. That's going to obviously come into play in the golf swing, so you create more club head speed, more distance. Because when we do some of our fat loss stuff, we're doing explosive movements. We're doing box jumps and doing, med ball throws and things that are going to elevate your heart rate. So there's a caloric burn, but also there's a benefit there as far as hitting your fast twitch, your explosive muscle fibers. So there's going to be a benefit from a speed and a power component, so you can pick up more distance in your golf game. And so there's definitely some carryover in the way that you train and how it's going to benefit your golf game for sure.
One of the things that I always say when somebody comes up to me with an argument like that, when a guy like a Kevin Stadler or somebody like that wins who is a little bit overweight, and first I'd say, well, he's just a phenomenal player, and he's got great touch, he's got great skill, and week in and week out on the PGA Tour, anybody can win, and these guys are so good that is possible. Yeah. Then I throw it back, how good would he be if he was in better shape, if he was a little more explosive, if he was a little more trim? And then my favorite retort is, if you took a fit and trim Adam Scott or Rory McIlroy, let's use Rory since he's the hot guy on tour right now, playing incredibly. You take a fit, powerful Rory McIlroy versus a fat and out of shape Rory McIlroy, or let's not even say fat and out of shape. Let's just say a little bit overweight, a little bit slower. Which one's going to win most of the time when you put them head to head? It's most likely going to be the fit and in shape one, just because his endurance is most likely going to be better. He's going to be able to have a little more consistency with the shots and the way he's moving his body. He's not going to break down as easily, and so. I don't understand the validity of somebody's argument coming up saying, well, these guys are, that are overweight aren't suffering because they're winning on tour. And I just think, well, maybe they could be even better if they were in a little bit better shape. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. And again, I think, it was an argument really, several years ago. I think now it's, most people are realizing, okay, these guys are working out. I mean, look, like I said, there are the Stadlers and a few people out there, people say John Daly. But yeah, look at, Jordan Spieth, look at Adam Scott, look at Roy McIlroy. List goes on. Most of the top guys, they're fit. You don't have to look like those guys to be an elite golfer, but certainly flexibility, mobility, having basic core strength, balance, and a basic level of strength is going to obviously, it's common sense. You're going to be a better athlete. You're going to move better. You're going to be a better golfer. And like you said, you may be just a natural great ball striker and be able to get up and down and still be a good golfer. But like you said, how great could you be if you were actually more fit and could hit the ball 20 or 30 yards further? And just for more stable, more control of your body, you're probably going to be more consistent. And so like I said, and I work with a lot of golf pros and talk to a lot of even old school golfers, and most of them now are coming around. I mean, especially with TPI out there putting so much great information out there, most of the time we don't get a lot of resistance anymore. It's, guys saying, "Oh, I don't need to work out," because like I said, you see these young guns coming up now. These guys that are just, they're fit, explosive, powerful, can crush the ball. It's just pretty much a given anymore. I work with a lot of high school kids, and even I have a pretty big junior program, kids 6 to 12 years old, and I tell them, you've got to be exercising, working out on a good structured program. If you want to be a high-level golfer, you don't have a chance. The days of the guys that they go out there and get drink afterwards and before and smoke cigarettes and play and don't work out. Those days are pretty much long gone. It's just highly competitive now. So yeah, it's important. But like I said, I think people are hopefully understanding. You don't have to become a gym rat and, like I said, look like an Adam Scott or a Roy McIlroy, because most people probably aren't going to. But if you, going back to what we talked about earlier, if you do get screened and figure out just what your limitations are, your movement patterns, and work on those things, flexibility and just a general program, a few hours a week, you can really just be healthier and have a much better golf game and prevent injury as well. That's a big important thing for a lot of people too.
Well, and I will follow it up by saying that most of the time when those conversations occur, those arguments come towards me, it's usually with my out-of-shape buddies when we're playing and they want to, order another round of beers and that kind of stuff too. So, for sure. Not necessarily the greatest advocates in the fitness department there. So, but no, I appreciate that. Okay, so I like to do this on the show with almost every one of our guests and kind of humanize you, Clint Howard, the fitness professional, fat loss guy. What is it that you struggle with in your own fitness program and in your own diet? Because, we get people that listen to the show and they see us as the fitness professionals, the guys that, have the answers as far as nutrition, fitness, that kind of stuff. But I think it's important for them to realize that we struggle on a daily basis too. And, sometimes it's just we find ways to get by it, or when we slip off track, we get back on track. So what is it that you kind of struggle with in your routines? Yeah, for sure. And I think that's very important. People to understand, no one is perfect, so obviously because we get that clients sometimes fall off and they just want to throw in the towel. It's like, dude, you screwed up for one day or 1 week, just get back on track. Everyone does that. So, and they need to understand that we're not perfect either. So for me, honestly, like my diet is really good. I kind of get teased a lot from clients because they think I eat perfect, and I don't eat perfect, but I really enjoy like vegetables and fruits and healthy food. I don't eat sweets. So I stay pretty solid on my diet, and I'm not a big, huge guy. You see me, I'm fairly lean, so I can stay lean pretty easy just because I'm not a big guy. But for me, the working out, actually, I love to work out. But just like you and I, we run businesses, and I work 12, 15-hour days, sometimes longer.
and I have two kids, a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and so that keeps me really busy. So it's hard to balance it out. So even though it's kind of sounds kind of odd, I guess, that we own fitness centers and we're in a fitness center, but yet sometimes it's hard to get your own workout in. But sometimes when you train other people all day long and you design programs for them, you're almost sometimes too wiped out to do your own workouts. So I do a lot of our workouts with our clients just because I enjoy that, and it's it's more of our metabolic workouts. But then sometimes, again, you and I have been working out for a long time. So once you've been working out for several years, you kind of burn out a little bit sometimes. Like, okay, I got to reset my goals, and get back to our own goals. What am I trying to accomplish? Because it's not anything new to us. We just worked out day in, day out for several years. So you kind of go through the routine. So you have to keep it fresh and just, sit back and say, okay, what am I want to get better at right now? And just stay consistent. I mean, there's days I get up at 3. I get up between 3 and 4 o'clock most every day. And there's days I get busy all day, and I look up and I haven't got my own workout in, and it's easy to blow it off. It's like, I need to do something. And, just getting into a routine, a regimen, and keeping accountable, that's tough. Again, I know for a lot of our clients, that's what they tell us. They're busy. They have kids, they have a business or work or whatever, and it's easy to say you don't have enough time. I'm sure you hear that all the time from people. It's like, I don't have time. When actually, if there's obviously research that shows, and we know if you work out, you're going to be more productive. You're going to have a better outlook on life, be more successful, just more confident. And so in reality, if you are healthy and fit, that usually does give you time back because you're more productive, you sleep better. But anyway, so that's kind of a long-winded answer. Is just staying accountable and committed myself to the workouts and pushing myself. Again, sometimes I just go through the motions because okay, I got to work out today, and I find myself daydreaming or checking my phone or emails and just not being able to turn off, my work while I'm working out myself. And I have to, just be able to really concentrate and focus on our own workouts, so we stay driven on our own goals.
Yeah, I know that there are so many days where, you're in there, you're working out with clients, you're in the gym all day long. The very last thing you want to do is stick around any longer to get in your workout. It's about balance too. You want to get home, you want to see your kids, you want to eat dinner, you want to hang out with your wife. And so, there's days where we just blow it off, and I'm going to admit that right away. But then there's also days where you want to blow it off, but you realize you have an extra 20 minutes, and you're like, man, I could get in, several rounds of sprints, or I could get in, this or that, or do some jump rope, or get on the treadmill and just do a little high intensity type stuff. So also note that, listeners, that it's sometimes it's just squeezing in those little things here and there, or go home and do something active with your kids, take them out in the yard, or do push-ups with them on your back, or whatever to make it fun and just keep moving. But Clint, as you said, we struggle with it. You guys out there are struggling with it every now and then, and just know that if you do fall off the horse, just get back on, recalculate your goals and get after it. All right. Before we close up shop here, Clint, I want to ask you, do you have one last piece of advice, and preferably some sort of an action step that you can suggest to our listeners to take home with them from our interview today?
I think the main thing is just, you have to realize, you've only got one body, so you've got to take care of it. So, any listener out there that's not working out right now, it's never too late to start. I work with clients we start with kids age 6, and some of our best clients are clients in their 70s that come in that haven't worked out in years, or some of them never worked out, 70-something years old, and come in, and some of our best long-term clients. And so it's never too late to start. But like we talked about earlier, I think you need to find a place that does, screen, some type of screening. And, there's a lot of training facilities out there, a lot of trainers, a lot of gyms. Find a place that you're comfortable, and hopefully the owners, the trainers have a good knowledge base, have certifications and know what they're doing. And then from there, again, just making it a lifestyle. That's what we see so much, especially, what we own is not a gym, it's a training facility, so our clients are really committed. But you see a lot of people that start a program and they fall off. No one's helping them. There's no accountability. They don't know what to do. They're just kind of not guided or not led. So if you need to hire a trainer, obviously that's great if you can do that. If not, still getting a workout buddy, a spouse, someone to hold you accountable and making it a lifestyle. I mean, most people actually enjoy it. Once you start feeling better, getting some results, man, it can change your life, and then you can almost get addicted. People that don't even think they like to work out actually can become really the point where, because there's so many benefits besides fat loss, besides just improving your golf game, just being healthier, less stress, sleeping better, energy. I mean, gosh, we could go on and on, injury prevention. And so it's just getting started, taking action, or maybe if you're doing a program now and just going back to, hey, am I accomplishing my goals? If you just go through the motions and you're not really accomplishing anything, it's easy to kind of lose track of why you're even doing this. And again, if you need to seek out help, I mean, definitely find someone and do that, and then just keep making it a lifestyle.
Well, I think it's kind of becoming a little bit of a broken record here on the 18 Strong podcast. I think this is our 9th episode, and I believe almost every single person on here has said to go get screened and get a plan. Find somebody that can help you figure out what you need to do. So, again, guys, everybody out there, if you do one thing, go out, find a professional. We're slowly building a list of professionals here across the nation, so you can reach out hopefully to somebody that's near your area. And if you don't have somebody that you know of, by all means, contact me here at 18 Strong, and hopefully we can kind of direct you in different directions with our network of golf fitness professionals. I know Clint and I have met many folks at the different seminars and lectures and things, and just through the wonders of Facebook and Twitter, where hopefully we can help direct you into a certain direction to really get somebody to help you put you on the right track. Clint, I want to thank you very much for taking the time tonight to get on the podcast. And how can our listeners find you? What's the best way to contact you if they want to get in touch with you or follow you on Facebook, Twitter, etc.?
Okay. Let's see. Well, our main website is tulsafitnesssystems.com. Also have another website. It's tulsagolffitness.com. And then we have a Facebook page, which is under Tulsa Fitness Systems, is our business page. Someone can find me personally. I have a personal account. It's just under Clint Howard. And so we do a lot of Facebook on there quite a bit, interact with clients and people on Facebook. And then that's really the main thing. I don't do too much Twitter. I do have an account. It's under Tulsa Fitness. But mostly, or my email is just clint@tulsafitnesssystems.com, which I think you can find that from our website. Or again, Facebook is where we usually kind of hang out most there. So
awesome, and I'll go ahead and put all that stuff on the show notes page so people can link directly to your website, kind of check out the facility. Go on their website when you get a chance. He's got some great videos just of their facility. You can get a good idea of what it looks like, the type of training that they do. He's got some great testimonials. You see some great pictures of people that have really had some success with Tulsa Fitness Systems. Once again, Clint, thanks for taking the time. Say hello to Kara for me. It was lovely meeting you guys in Tulsa, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys in the future for sure. So once again, thanks, man.
All right, Jeff. Thanks. I enjoyed it, buddy.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Clint, for a great interview. And hopefully you guys listening got a lot out of that. I know I always get a lot out of talking to Clint, picking his brain. And it's been an honor to get to know him over the past year or so. And I really can't wait to hang out with him quite a bit in California next week, in San Diego at the World Golf Fitness Summit. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of information to relay back to you guys on the 18 Strong podcast on the website. So just want to give you a quick heads up that we do have some pretty cool stuff coming out in the near future, especially on 18strong.com. I've been working on a couple of ebooks and things like that we will be pushing out eventually. I know I've been working on one that some of you guys know about for a little while. We've got another one that's going to be coming out maybe even a little bit sooner than that. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have some things coming down the pipe. So please be sure to check out 18strong.com. We've got tons of articles. In the near future, we're also going to have a few guest authors that are going to be posting some stuff on there, some new articles about some different topics. And, ideally, the vision of 18 Strong here is to make this place, the podcast, the website, basically a hub of great information for golfers like yourself, so you can learn not just about how to exercise better, but how to plan your workouts, plan your practice, and really expose you guys to some of the great people in this industry, in the golf world, and help you form a plan of attack, both for your fitness, your practice, and so you can enjoy the game the way that you want to. Not go out there and get frustrated, but see yourself getting better. Learn how to get better. Learn how to play smarter, practice smarter. So please reach out to us on Facebook. Check out the Facebook page, 18 Strong. We've always got our articles posted there as well as other things that we find, other resources, videos, other articles that I find on the web, just by other authors, other fitness guys, fitness women that are out there putting out great information. So check us out there on Facebook. You can always contact me on Twitter at Jeff Pellizzaro. There is not a 18 Strong Twitter account, simply for the fact that it's tough enough to keep up with all the social media for my personal account, our business account at Elevated Performance. So we're going to hold off on the Twitter handle for 18 Strong. So just reach out to me at Jeff Pellizzaro on Twitter. Ask me any questions you got. Just say hey. And if you don't mind, leave us a hashtag of 18 Strong every now and then. Or, if you see an example of somebody that's exhibiting something that you would think is 18 Strong, you just go ahead and throw that hashtag on there too. And once again, appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for being here. This podcast wouldn't be here without you. So once again, train hard, practice smart, and as always, play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.